this past summer, I went on vacation with my family and went all the way to Texas. And Texas, for me, was really hot. Like, I was sweating, I was drenched every day. I was in tank top, I was in this. And so the day I got up, and we already had a rental car because we just bought a brand new car and didn't want to put miles on it. And so I packed up all my stuff, I loaded it in the back of the SUV, and we got on the 605 to go to my aunt's house to pick her up. And as we're getting on the freeway, the intersection was construction. And so this giant semi had like a bunch of like brand new cars, like Mercedes and like crazy cars that are way out of my budget. And they merged into our lane, and my dad like stomped on the brakes as fast as he could, and the car behind us hit us. And we're all shaken up, but we're all really okay. And so we all pulled over to the side and got all our information, and we decided to turn around and go back to our insurance agency because that's like the protocol. Like, you have to go back and file a police report and do all this stuff. So we ended up being there for 4 hours. And 4 hours later, we get back on the freeway, and this time we're going on the 91, going through Riverside and all that area. And we finally get about 20 minutes into Phoenix, and I had just woken up from sleeping because I figured I had to drive through the night. So I just woken up, and I see this white van, and it was a full of like 7 people. Like, it was packed. And so this van's like swerving in and out of cars, and like it's being like reckless. And like as soon as like before the interstate ends, the semi comes down the center divider thing, and I don't know if they were asleep or drunk but they come down and they hit the car, and they push the car over the interstate line and push it into a giant like oak tree on the side of the road. And so everyone stops, and everyone like is swerving out of the way and like dodging other cars, and there's like a big mess. And like instantaneously the van and the semi both caught on fire. And so everyone's like trying to run at the car, but people are like trying to flee from the car because they don't know if it's going to explode or whatnot. And so it was like really weird because everyone could smell like this like distinct like flesh smell. Like, it was horrid. Like, I remember I was so shocked and scared. And so after a little while, the fire department came, and the fire department put out the fire, and there was a helicopter that came and like took one person in one of those giant stretchers, and they airlifted them to a hospital in Phoenix. And the coroner came, and the coroner like took down police reports from people who were like in the first 10 cars. And I remember like distinctly after he took my police report, he said, it's a sad day for Arizona. We had 8 people today die in one single accident. And I remember laying my head down, and like that night in Phoenix, I stopped and I realized like I was just on the 605 in another in like California, like not far from my hometown. And I had a little tiny accident, and I was so like distraught and scared. And in another state, some people lost their lives, and no one really knew, but us people there found out. And so that day probably was the worst day of my life.